3 years of marriage ended with a slap in a crowded mall, her husband shielding the woman who stole her life. Then she fell into the arms of Jasper Bai, the city's most ruthless tycoon. A man so possessive, he'd shut down a theater just to stop her from looking at other men. A man so broken, he cried the first time she whispered, "I love you." He handed her the power to ruin them all. "If the sky falls," he promised, "I will hold it up for you." But as she uncovers the truth about her brother's disappearance 5 years ago, she finds a devastating secret buried in the past, one that ties her lost family directly to the man now in her bed. His love is her salvation. His secret could be her damnation. To get justice, will she have to destroy the only man who ever fought for her? Chapter 151. The massive screen in the center of the mall captured everyone's attention. The newscaster's clear, cold voice echoed through the bustling space, each word a hammer blow to Sophia Song's heart. Following an investigation, the airline has decided to terminate the employment of Ms. Sophia Song. Ms. Song no longer holds any position with the company. If revoking her title had stripped away her halo, being fired had just severed her roots. The blood drained from Sophia's face, leaving it ashen. Almost simultaneously, her phone buzzed with the airline's cold, official termination text. The world began to spin. "Sophia, what is going on?" Leo's mother's shrill voice broke the silence. The woman who had been beaming with pride just a moment ago was now filled with panic and suspicion. Lana's mocking voice cut in, just loud enough for the eavesdropping crowd to hear clearly. "Your dear Sophia here got her hero title revoked for letting a colleague die. Now the airlines fired her, too. I mean, wasn't that title the only reason she got to be a first officer in the first place? All that effort for nothing." The pointing fingers and whispers were like 1,000 poison darts. Sophia could no longer maintain her composure. She just wanted to escape. But Leo's mother, like an enraged lioness, shoved Leo aside and stormed up to Sophia. "I see. So that's why you were so eager to take us shopping, to shut us up. You're not even a first officer anymore, and you have this scandal hanging over you. How could you possibly be worthy of my son?" A sharp crack echoed through the mall as she slapped Sophia across the face. Sophia clutched her stinging cheek, her eyes filled with shame and disbelief. Lana's laughter was a poison-tipped blade. Well, Sophia, weren't you just saying you can't argue with elders, that you'd endure it even if Leo's mother hit you?" Her own hypocritical words, spoken to curry favor, had come back to gut her. Leo was caught in the middle, helpless, while Chloe just watched him coldly. "Since you're such a filial son, shouldn't you be advising your sweetheart to patiently endure her elders' teachings?" The farce devolved into an ugly scene of the Gu women and Sophia tearing at each other. Chloe and Lana had already slipped away. Outside, Jasper's car was waiting. He naturally took the shopping bags from Chloe's hands. "The news on the mall screen. Was that your doing?" Chloe asked. He didn't deny it, a cold light flashing in his deep eyes. "Yes. She made you unhappy, so she doesn't get to be happy." Back at the apartment, that domineering protectiveness morphed into a different kind of obsession. When Chloe said she needed more time to consider his proposal of marriage, he trapped her in his arms, his eyes holding both a beast-like intensity and a bottomless insecurity. "You've never thought about marrying me? Or are you just going to throw me away when you get bored?" Chloe could feel the tension in his body, see the fear in his eyes. In that instant, a dark thought, venomous and sudden, slithered into Jasper's mind. If she had his child, she could never leave, just like his father. The thought made him freeze, his face turning pale. Chloe noticed the change and cupped his face, her voice soft but firm. "Jasper, I told you once, I don't want my partner to hide things from me. You will never become a person like your father, and I am not your mother. I like you and I will fall in love with you." Her words were a warm current, chasing away the shadows in his mind. He pulled her tight, burying his face in her shoulder, as if it were the only way to confirm the reality of her warmth. But a cornered Sophia was not about to go down quietly. The next afternoon, at a coffee shop, Lana caught a familiar figure in her peripheral vision. Across the street, Sophia, wearing a hat and mask, furtively followed a strange man into a cheap-looking motel. Lana's eyes narrowed. She grabbed Ethan, who was sitting across from her. "Come on, we're going somewhere." Chapter 152. The sign of the small motel looked grimy in the afternoon sun. Lana pulled Ethan along, the two of them moving like clumsy spies, sticking close to the building's wall. "What are we doing?" Ethan's voice was impatient. He was used to striding through the capital with impunity, not skulking in alleys. "Quiet," Lana hissed. "I saw Sophia Song go in there with a man. My female intuition is telling me something shady is going on." "Sophia Song?" Ethan's eyes narrowed, his disgust plain. He'd do anything to get some leverage on that woman. They were in agreement. They slipped into the motel's dim lobby, which smelled of disinfectant and damp. They didn't notice the black sedan parked at the corner of the street, where a man's hawk-like gaze was locked on their retreating backs. It was Wesley Wei, Lana's ex-boyfriend, the capital's most renowned lawyer. He watched Lana and his own nephew enter the cheap motel together, and his handsome, usually composed face was instantly covered in a dark frost. Turn around. Stop the car, he said coldly, his voice low but dropping the temperature in the car by several degrees. The motel's soundproofing was surprisingly effective. Lana pressed her ear to the cool wall, even trying the old glass cup trick, but heard nothing. Just as she and Ethan were complaining, a sharp knock came at their door. Lana's heart jumped. She cautiously opened the door a crack and came face to face with the one person she never wanted to see again. Wesley Way. Her mind went blank. Before she could decide what to do, the door to the next room opened. She made a split-second decision, yanking Wesley inside and clamping a hand over his mouth. Through the crack in their door, she clearly heard the man's voice. Ms. Song, my patience is limited. I'll wait 1 month. If you don't have the money by then, you'll face the consequences. Sophia's voice was tight, with suppressed rage. Don't let me see you again during this month. If you make Leo suspicious, you won't get a single cent. The door next to them closed. Lana shut her own door, only then realizing her hand was still pressed against Wesley's lips. The warmth was like a brand. She snatched her hand back, laughing awkwardly. Well, what a coincidence. The atmosphere in the room froze. Wesley's gaze darted between Lana and Ethan, his voice laced with a jealousy he didn't even recognize. I wasn't aware you'd become so interested in my nephew. Last time it was taking off his clothes. This time it's getting a room. A tense standoff between uncle, nephew, and ex-girlfriend commenced. Under Wesley's relentless questioning, Lana retreated until she had no choice but to arm herself with a cold declaration. Who do you think you can get your hands on? It definitely won't be you. Meanwhile, Chloe was walking out of the military compound, a genuine joy on her face for the first time in a long while. She had a major lead on her brother, Cole. A military drone he had once operated had been discovered on the border. She rushed back to the apartment, eager to share the news with Jasper. I have a new lead on my brother. Jasper was holding a cup of hot tea. At her words, his hand jerked violently, spilling the scalding liquid all over the back of his hand. Ah, Chloe gasped, immediately pulling him to the sink and running cold water over his rapidly reddening skin. You have a lead on your brother? He repeated numbly, as if he couldn't feel the pain, his voice trembling almost imperceptibly. The military found the drone he used 5 years ago, Chloe answered, her heart aching as she looked at his injury. I have a feeling I might find him soon. In that instant, Jasper's face turned even paler than his scalded hand. That night, as Chloe cooked noodles in the kitchen, he leaned against the doorframe like a child seeking sanctuary, quietly watching her. The comforting domesticity made him feel happy, but it also terrified him. When she placed 2 steaming bowls of beef and tomato noodles on the table, he wrapped his arms tightly around her waist from behind, pressing his cheek against hers, his voice hoarse and fragile. Chloe, I feel so happy right now. I'm happy too, having a boyfriend like you, Chloe replied with a smile. Then, will you always be by my side? He asked, as if begging for a guarantee. Chloe turned to face him and, looking at him seriously, said, word by word, Jasper, I hope that in the future, we can be like my parents, walking side by side, never to leave, never to forsake. Never to forsake. The words were a searing brand, burned deep into Jasper's heart. He held her tighter, as if to meld her into his very being. He had the vow he had always dreamed of, but it was a vow built upon a secret he had buried, a secret that was about to be unearthed. On the stage of the Grand Theater, lights cascaded down like waterfalls, and the rhythm was a pounding drum. Powerful dancers moved through a curtain of falling water, their bodies wild and strong. The lines of their muscles glistened, sweat and water mingling and flying with every motion, drawing escalating shrieks from the audience. Lana was lost in the frenzy. But Chloe, amidst the deafening music, found her thoughts drifting to someone else. Her vibrating phone pulled her back to reality. The screen read, Jasper. Hello, Jasper, what's up? She asked, turning away from the noise. What's going on over there? It's so loud, his voice sounded tight. Before she could answer, Lana leaned in excitedly and shouted, Chloe, look at that guy. God, those muscles are to die for. They're about to pick a lucky audience member to go on stage for a close-up. Every word traveled perfectly through the phone. Chloe could practically picture the instant freeze on Jasper's face. Where are you? His voice was now devoid of any warmth. I'm at a show with Lana. I'll head back myself when it's over. I'm coming to get you, he said, and hung up without another word. They didn't make it to the end of the show. Just as the atmosphere reached its peak, the theater lights suddenly went out, plunging the space into darkness and chaos. An equipment failure forced the performance to be canceled. As Chloe and a disappointed Lana walked out of the theater, she immediately spotted the familiar Maybach and Jasper leaning against it. As Chloe and a disappointed Lana walked out of the theater, she immediately spotted the familiar Maybach and Jasper leaning against it. Even more surprising was another tall figure getting out of a car nearby. It was Wesley Way. The two equally outstanding men, one cool and aloof, the other sharp and elegant, were like 2 powerful magnets, instantly drawing the gazes of all the women leaving the theater. Since Jasper is here to get you, Chloe, I'll be going, Lana said, desperate to escape the tense scene. What? You're leaving the moment you see me. Wesley's cold voice stopped her in her tracks. Eventually, Chloe was led away by Jasper, leaving Lana to face the man she had once loved to the bone, and then abandoned without a backward glance. Inside the car, the silence was heavy. Chloe looked at Jasper's tense profile and suddenly understood. Today's equipment failure. That was you, wasn't it? Yes, he admitted quietly. I don't want you looking at other men. And I don't want you getting close to them, he murmured, like a child who'd been caught, his voice thick with suppressed anxiety. Does that answer make me seem petty to you? Chloe sighed and reached up to touch his cheek. I was just keeping Lana company. I'm not interested in those men. You don't have to be so guarded with me. His eyelashes fluttered. He took her hand and pressed a reverent kiss to her fingertips. Does that mean you're only interested in me? From now on, you can only be interested in me. Back at the apartment, Chloe tried to talk to him, to ask for a little more trust. He just listened quietly, then asked in a low, almost bewitching voice. Then what do you want me to do to make you feel that the only man you're interested in is me? Before she could answer, he began to move. He loosened his tie, then unbuttoned his suit jacket, and then the shirt beneath. With each item he removed, Chloe's heart skipped a beat. He stood before her, bare-chested, his near-perfect body marred only by a few jagged scars. What kind of dance do you like? He asked, his eyes burning into hers, his expression both alluring and intensely hopeful. I've never learned, but I can. If you want to see it, I'll learn. He even added, with a hint of self-consciousness, I have scars. They might not be aesthetically pleasing. If you don't like them, I can have them removed with a laser. This proud, powerful man was now, before her, humbling himself to the dust. Chloe's heart was squeezed tight, aching and sore. Was it her caution that had made him so insecure? She couldn't bear the guarded look on his face any longer. She shot to her feet, wrapped her arms around his neck, and kissed his cool lips. This kiss was no longer about reassurance. It was a declaration. She could feel him tremble beneath her lips. Even in this moment of intimacy, he was trying to please her, to follow her lead. Her nose tingled, and in that instant, all her reason and all her defenses crumbled. She pulled back slightly, looked into his wide, stunned eyes, and heard herself say in a voice she had never used before, husky and resolute, Jasper, I want you. A tremor shot through Jasper's body. His dark eyes, which usually held a calculating coldness, were now filled with utter disbelief. He asked, his voice trembling, What? What did you say? The air seemed to solidify. He held his breath, terrified he had misheard, terrified he had misunderstood, terrified it was just a phantom born of his own endless desire. Chloe smiled, a smile of unprecedented release and resolve. She moved closer and repeated, in the clearest possible voice, Jasper, I want you. Do you? His throat worked. How could he not? The thoughts that had run rampant through countless sleepless nights, the desires he had suppressed with every ounce of his reason, all coalesced into a single, hoarse whisper. I do, Chloe. I want you so much. In the next instant, the world spun as he swept her into his arms and carried her toward the bed where they had slept for so many nights, always separated by that final inch. He laid her down gently, a storm of passion raging in his eyes, yet he held on to one last shred of reason. Are you sure? You won't regret this. I won't regret it. Her fingers rested on his chest, feeling the heart that beat frantically for her. So, you'd better not regret it either. She kissed him then, swallowing any remaining words. That night, the powerful Jasper showed a reverence and vulnerability she had never seen. His ragged breaths, his involuntary moans, the way his body tensed and trembled, it all spoke of how much he loved her, cherished her, craved her. As Chloe drifted off into an exhausted sleep, she felt his lips carefully kissing her forehead and his hoarse vow in her ear. Chloe, from now on, you can't leave me. The next morning, Chloe woke enveloped in warmth, the pleasant ache in her body a reminder of the night's passion. Jasper was already dressed, sitting by the bed looking refreshed, his eyes filled with a melting tenderness. He had already called in to get her the day off, and had even cleaned her up while she slept. This meticulous care made Chloe realize that, without even knowing it, she had let down all her guards, giving him her complete and utter trust. But this newfound peace, filled with passion and affection, was soon shattered by a call from the military. Chloe, you need to come down to the base. We've officially recovered the drone that belonged to Cole Chiao. The SD card is in good condition, and we've restored some of the data. You can come and see it. Chloe's heart seized. She rushed to the base. When her brother's voice filled the room from the computer speakers for the first time in 5 years, tears streamed down her face. The military confirmed his disappearance was indeed related to the border fire. More importantly, the last few frames captured before the drone lost control showed a blurry image of the fire's point of origin before it started. Can I have a copy of this video? I want to see if I can restore the image clarity, she said, her knuckles white as she clutched the USB drive containing the crucial clue. When she returned to the apartment and opened the door, she saw Jasper sitting on the sofa, looking through documents as if he had been waiting for her. In that moment, A feeling of home washed over her. Unable to control it, she rushed forward and hugged him tightly, burying her face in his chest. What's wrong? Have you been crying? He felt her trembling, his voice instantly becoming tense and angry. Who made you cry? Tell me. She shook her head against his chest, her voice hoarse. It's not what you think. Jasper, just let me hold you for a minute. After a long while, she finally pulled away and looked up at him, her eyes red and swimming with tears. Seeing the worry and pain in his gaze, hearing his solemn promise, no matter what happens, I will help you solve it. Chloe felt her nose sting again, but her heart was completely filled with a searing emotion. A tearful smile touched her lips. Jasper, with you like this, how can I not be in love? Jasper froze, staring at her, hardly daring to believe his ears. What did you say? You love me? His cool voice cracked on the last words, the final syllable trembling. Chloe blinked away the tears and, in the most resolute and certain voice she had ever used, declared, word by word, yes. I love you, Jasper. Bye. I love you. As the words fell, a single, clear tear escaped from the corner of his usually aloof, distant eye, and rolled, unexpectedly, down his cheek. Chloe had never imagined that this man, so aloof, so cool, at times so obsessive, would cry at the words, I love you. That single hot tear slid down his handsome face and felt as if it had landed directly on her heart, making her forget everything else. He pulled her into a crushing embrace, as if trying to merge her into his very being, his voice choked and urgent. Chloe, you can't be lying to me. Now that you've said it, you can't take it back. You can't regret it. I said it, so I won't take it back, and I won't regret it, she said, gently stroking his trembling back. Jasper, bye, I love you. To him, her confession was like salvation. He murmured her name over and over, as if to confirm this wasn't a dream from which he would soon wake. Chloe cupped his face, wiping the tear track from his cheek, and smiled. When I find my brother, I'll tell him that you're the man I've chosen, and the man I love. At the mention of her brother, she told him about the drone and the military's belief that he was likely deceased. Jasper's arms tightened around her. Your brother is not dead, he said, his tone almost stubborn. He's definitely still alive. His certainty gave Chloe a measure of peace. Jasper then handed her a file. I had someone look into Sophia's song. 5 years ago, she was a smoker. But ever since that fire, she quit completely. And people saw her smoking during her time in Shunsheng back then. All the clues, like threads, were leading back to Sophia. Chloe decided to use the Bai family's advanced equipment to personally restore the drone footage that might hold the truth about the fire. Meanwhile, another net was quietly closing. At a bar, Ethan set a trap and successfully got the full story of the fake savior incident from the detective who had been blackmailing Sophia. He sneered into the phone to Lana. I'm going to put on a good show for Leo Gu and Sophia's song. I owe the captain that much. Sophia, oblivious, had successfully secured a $50 million loan for Leo. During their celebration, she got him drunk. Just as she was about to use his fingerprint to transfer the money she needed to pay off her blackmailer, a wave of nausea sent her rushing to the bathroom. Staring at her pale reflection, a wild, thrilling thought took root. Her period was late. She might be pregnant. This child would be her ultimate trump card to hold on to Leo and win everything back. That evening, Chloe finished a long day of video restoration and drove back to the apartment. At the entrance to her building, she saw an unwelcome visitor, Ivy Chiao. You must be feeling very proud of yourself, Chloe, Ivy said, blocking her path, her eyes full of jealousy and venom. But what if Jasper Bai has done something to betray you? Will you still want to be with him then? Chloe ignored her, but Ivy persisted. Just then, Jasper's cold voice came from nearby. I'd also like to know what I've done to betray Chloe. Seeing Jasper, Ivy's expression shifted. Finally, as if making a last, desperate gamble, she screamed at Chloe's retreating back. Chloe, don't you care that there's another woman in his heart? There has always been a girl who once saved his life. He's had people searching for her for years. Chloe's steps faltered. She could feel Jasper's hand, which had been warm in hers, turn instantly cold and rigid. His breathing grew ragged. She slowly turned back, met Ivy's triumphant gaze, and delivered 2 sharp, ringing slaps across her face. After driving Ivy away, she finally turned to the man beside her, whose face was as white as a sheet. They walked back to the apartment in silence. The moment they were inside, Chloe took off her coat, her voice terrifyingly calm. Was what Ivy said just now true? Under her gaze, Jasper felt his blood begin to freeze. Don't lie to me, she said, her tone sharpening. Once you lie, you destroy trust. And I don't know how to spend the rest of my life with someone I can't trust. After a long pause, he finally admitted it, his voice hoarse and strained. He admitted the girl existed, that he had been looking for her for years, wanting to repay her for saving his life. Chloe's heart sank. She heard her own voice, laced with a tension she hadn't expected, ask the one question that would decide their future. Then if one day, you actually find that girl, and if she expresses interest in you, says she wants to be with you, Can you honestly say you would remain unmoved? The air in the room seemed to turn to glass the moment Chloe asked the question, so fragile it could shatter at a touch. Jasper's face was pale, but under her sharp gaze, he didn't look away. Why couldn't I remain unmoved? He began, his voice hoarse but firm. Chloe, I'm not a child. I know the difference between gratitude and love. He stepped forward and took her hand, folding its coldness into the warmth of his own. I'm grateful to her because she gave me a sliver of hope in the darkest moment of my life. In fact, after meeting you, my gratitude for her only deepened. Without her, I would never have met you. I would never have understood that feelings for a person could run this deep. His gaze was searing and sincere, without a trace of falsehood. But, he said, each word a definitive statement. Besides gratitude, I will never have any other feelings for her. The only person who could ever move my heart, in the past or in the future, is you. Chloe, for that brilliant light, I was curious. But for you, I am greedy. So greedy he wanted to lock her light by his side. So greedy he couldn't bear to let go for even a second. He pressed her hand to his cheek, her warmth the only faith he had left to live by. If you're going to save me, you have to see it through. You can't give up halfway, he murmured, then leaned in and kissed her deeply. The kiss scattered all doubt, sealing a vow of eternal loyalty. The crisis of trust, so carefully orchestrated by Ivy, was completely dismantled by Jasper's raw confession. But as Chloe sat down at the Bai family's state-of-the-art computer, a true storm was just beginning to brew. She inserted the USB drive from the military. On the screen, the blurry video began to clarify under the analysis of the sophisticated program. Pixels coalesced, noise faded, and a figure slowly emerged from the digital fog of 5 years past. It was a woman. Though it was dark and her face was unclear, Chloe would never mistake that unique profile. The woman brought a cigarette to her lips. A small flame flared and then died. It was followed by a casual flick of her hand. It was Sophia Song. After that, another figure, a man, walked over. Undoubtedly the co-pilot who had died so senselessly. And just behind them, in the corner of the frame, a tiny spark of light began to glow. Chloe's pupils constricted, the blood rushing to her head. She stared at the screen, at Sophia's careless toss, and her eyes instantly turned red. If it weren't for that single action, there would have been no fire, no innocent casualties, and her brother would never have gone missing. Hate. A hate so powerful it could burn through all reason consumed her. With every ounce of her self-control, she dialed Jasper's number, her voice trembling with an uncontainable rage. Jasper, find out where Sophia Song is right now. By the river, the wind howled, mirroring the storm in Chloe's heart. She had once saved Leo here, beginning a disastrous entanglement. Today, she would end another toxic affair with a bloody full stop. Whatever you want to do to her, do it. If the sky falls, I'll hold it up for you, Jasper said, standing beside her, his voice calm but imbued with unshakable power. Soon, a car screeched to a halt. Sophia and Leo were dragged out by several bodyguards. Chloe, it was you. Leo roared the moment he saw her. Is this how you're going to humiliate me? Chloe ignored him. Her gaze, like two daggers of ice, was fixed on Sophia. Breaking the law? Is it? She said, walking toward her, her voice as cold as the riverbed. What about you? How many laws have you broken? Sophia's Song. That border fire 5 years ago. Your carelessly tossed cigarette killed how many people? Sophia's face went white. She shrieked in terror. You're lying. I don't even smoke. You don't smoke? Chloe sneered, throwing a stack of photos at Leo's face. They were ironclad proof of Sophia's smoking habit, along with screenshots from the video showing her at the point of origin, tossing the lit cigarette. Staring at the irrefutable images, Sophia's body trembled, but she still denied it. You're trying to frame me with a few blurry photos? Frame you? Chloe could no longer contain the hatred churning inside her. She grabbed Sophia's collar and hissed, each word a torment. My brother has been missing for 5 long years because of your carelessness. Tell me, do I have the right to hit you or not? Before the words had even faded, her fist flew, crashing into Sophia's cheek with the force of a thunderbolt. Sophia cried out and staggered back. Just as Chloe's second punch was about to land, Leo rushed forward, spreading his arms to shield Sophia with his own body. Is that enough? Chloe's eyes were filled with scorn, her gaze a poison-tipped icicle stabbing into Leo's heart. So many lives lost. My brother missing for 5 years with no word on whether he's alive or dead. Leo, is 2 punches really enough? He was speechless, unable to meet her eyes, which burned with a mixture of rage and grief. Get out of my way, she said coldly. When Sophia saved me, I swore I would protect her, he finally bit out, making his stand. Before the words had even left his mouth, a dark figure flashed past. Leo was sent flying by a powerful kick. Jasper planted his foot firmly on Leo's face, his voice chillingly cold. Then I won't be letting you off the hook first. At that tense moment, another car sped toward them. Ethan and Lana got out, dragging a man with his hands tied behind his back. It was Detective Lee, the man who had been blackmailing Sophia. 50 million? Call the police? Blackmail and fraud. Leo was completely bewildered, but the detective's next words shattered his entire world. What do you think it's for? It's because this bitch wasn't your savior. She's an imposter. She was going to pay me 50 million to keep my mouth shut. The truth, like a rotten fruit being peeled open, released a nauseating stench. Leo's world tilted on its axis. He couldn't think. He couldn't face the possibility that if Sophia hadn't saved him, then his 3-year marriage, all his betrayal and neglect of Chloe, what did it all mean? Let's find out, Jasper said suddenly. He lunged forward, his hand clamping around Sophia's neck, forcing her against the riverside railing. Half Sophia's body was dangling over the churning water. If we throw her in, we'll know if she can save anyone or not. No. The fear of death seized Sophia. She screamed, the truth tumbling out in a panicked, incoherent torrent. I didn't save Leo. When Sophia found Leo, he had already been pulled from the water. The paramedics thought Sophia was the one who saved him, so Sophia just went along with it to the hospital. The truth was out. Leo stood as if struck by lightning, completely frozen. He began to walk toward Chloe, each step like walking on knives. Leo looked at Chloe's cold, indifferent face and asked, his voice trembling, Was it you? The person who saved me from the river back then? Was it you? Does it matter? Chloe looked at him, her eyes devoid of any warmth. Whether it was me or not, Sophia Song was not your savior, and your belief in her was a complete joke. In the end, Sophia and Detective Lee were taken to the police station. Standing before the cold interrogation room, Leo finally made his decision. He looked at Sophia and said, word by word, Don't tell me you love me ever again, Sophia. Our relationship ends here. Ends here. The color drained from Sophia's face. In her absolute despair, she suddenly grasped at a final, desperate straw. She shrieked, I'm pregnant. What? Leo froze. Instinctively, in his panic, he glanced over at Chloe. He saw Chloe frowning slightly as Chloe looked at Sophia, Chloe's expression unreadable. That subtle change in Chloe's expression ignited an absurd flicker of hope in Leo's heart. Chloe still cared about him, didn't she? Yes, I'm pregnant. Sophia declared again, her eyes glinting with a wild madness. So Leo, you can't end things with me. I'm pregnant. Sophia's shriek was a thunderclap in the cold, sterile space of the police station. Leo stood rigid, feeling as if Leo had been plunged into an icy abyss. A child? How could there be a child? Leo and Sophia had only been together a few times. Well, this is hilarious. Lana's mocking voice cut in, each word a poisoned dart. Congratulations, Leo, you're going to be a father. When's the wedding? I'll be sure to send a generous gift. Seeing Chloe about to leave, Leo lunged forward like a madman, but was immediately restrained by Jasper's men. Leo could only watch helplessly as Chloe's back disappeared through the station doors. Leo returned to his villa, completely lost. Leo's mother and sister were cheerfully looking through profiles for potential dates, urging Leo to start a new life. In that instant, something inside Leo snapped. Reputation, reputation. Is that all that matters? Mom, it was because of you and your obsession with reputation that you forced me to divorce Chloe. Leo roared, unleashing all Leo's pent-up resentment. Are you blaming Mom and me? Leo's sister Gia's words were a douse of cold water. You divorced Chloe because you were with Sophia Song. It wasn't just Mom who cared about reputation, you did too. You thought Chloe wasn't presentable enough. That's why you never even told anyone Chloe was your wife, isn't it? Yes, it was Leo. It was all Leo. Leo had failed Chloe. Leo had wronged Chloe. Leo admitted it miserably, then fled to his room under the stunned gazes of Leo's mother and sister. At the restaurant, the atmosphere was celebratory. Toasts were made to Sophia's downfall. Fueled by alcohol, Ethan raised glass after glass to Chloe, reminiscing about their days in the military. Ethan's eyes filled with a nostalgic, bitter longing. Captain, I often think, if only we could go back to that time, Ethan said, swirling the liquor in Ethan's glass, Ethan's words slurring slightly. If we could go back, I would have told you that Ethan. Lana cut Ethan off sharply. Jasper, without a word, took the glass from Chloe's hand. Jasper's dark eyes met Ethan's over the rim before Jasper downed the drink in one go. A silent war raged between Ethan and Jasper. Eventually, Jasper ended the evening, claiming Chloe was drunk. Lana could only sigh helplessly at the look of utter defeat on Ethan's face. Back at the apartment, Chloe was indeed drunk. Chloe's cheeks were flushed, Chloe's eyes hazy, and Chloe was leaning heavily against Jasper. Chloe's rare display of dependence filled Jasper with a strange satisfaction. Jasper was Chloe's one and only. Jasper swept Chloe up in Jasper's arms and gently laid Chloe on the bed, turning to get Chloe something to sober Chloe up. Don't. A soft hand suddenly caught Jasper's. Before Jasper could react, Jasper was pulled off balance by a skilled maneuver and found Jasper pinned beneath Chloe. Chloe's flushed face was inches from Jasper's. Chloe's clear, determined eyes were now glistening with a different kind of light. Chloe propped Chloe up on Jasper's chest, a smirk playing on Chloe's lips, a predatory expression Jasper had never seen before. Chloe. Jasper raised an eyebrow, his voice a suppressed rasp as he gazed up at the woman on top of him, cheeks flushed and eyes glinting. Do you know what you're doing? Of course, I do. Chloe's voice was lazy with drink, but perfectly clear. I'm drunk, but not so drunk I've lost my mind. As the words fell, Chloe's lips met Jasper's, not with an urgent demand, but with a slow, deliberate exploration tinged with the taste of alcohol. Her hands were busy, deftly pulling his tie loose. Her fingertips grazed his throat, drawing a low groan from him. One by one, the buttons of his shirt gave way, revealing the defined planes of his chest. The cool touch of Jasper's skin was a welcome relief to Chloe's alcohol-heated body. Her fingers roamed over his taut muscles, feeling the body beneath her grow hotter, tighter, with her every touch. Chloe, I want, Jasper began, trying to flip her over and reclaim control, but Chloe pressed him back down with an unyielding strength. Don't move. Chloe's breath ghosted past Jasper's ear, her tone commanding. Tonight, I'm in charge. Astonishment and a deepening desire warred in Jasper's eyes, finally melting into an indulgent smile. All right, you are. How would you like me to cooperate? Chloe narrowed her eyes like a cat studying its prey. Her gaze fell on the tie she had tossed aside. She picked it up, took Jasper's long arms, and crossed them at the wrist. Then, with the soft silk, she began to wrap them, round and round. Do you really think a tie like this can hold me? Jasper asked, his breath hot. It wouldn't be so easy for you to break free. Chloe's lips curved into a sly smile as she tied a neat bow over Jasper's bound wrists. Besides, Lana said that tying a man up in bed can be interesting. I wanted to try. The flames of desire in Jasper's eyes were about to erupt. Then you have to promise me, the only man you ever tie up in bed is me. Who else would I tie up like this? Chloe laughed. Even if you could, you can't. Jasper insisted stubbornly. Chloe, if you want to love someone, tie someone up, it can only be me. Whatever you want to experience, I will cooperate. Chloe's fingers gently traced the line of Jasper's brow, finally coming to rest on his tightly pressed lips. All right, only you. Chloe leaned down and kissed Jasper deeply, her lips trailing downwards, appreciating the powerful, beautiful body beneath her. The network of old scars, far from being ugly, seemed like medals of honor, making her heart ache for him. Jasper felt the pity in Chloe's gaze and knew he was, once again, despicably using these scars. But he couldn't stop. He was afraid her feelings for him weren't deep enough, afraid that at the first sign of trouble, she would still abandon him. Then, just love me a little more, Jasper whispered, closing his eyes, his hoarse voice a mix of endless seduction and an almost imperceptible plea that made Chloe lose herself completely. But as Chloe was lost in her lover's embrace, her friend Lana was jolted from a hangover by a frantic ringing of her doorbell. Who is it? Lana groaned, stumbling to the door. A familiar handsome face came into view, and her brain shut down. Wesley Way, her ex-boyfriend. Lana instinctively tried to slam the door, but Ethan, rubbing his eyes, had already walked past her and opened it. Ethan, rubbing his eyes, had already walked past Lana and opened the door. Wesley stood on the threshold, impeccably dressed, his face a dark thundercloud. His gaze swept over the disheveled Lana and the pajama-clad Ethan, his voice as cold as ice. It seems I've interrupted something. After a chaotic explanation, Wesley forcibly took Lana back to her own apartment. He surveyed the empty, male-free room, his expression softening slightly, only to darken again when he saw a photo album on the coffee table filled with pictures of different men. I didn't realize you were a collector, Wesley said, an acidic tone in his voice he didn't even recognize. Is your boyfriend really so generous that he doesn't mind you keeping these? He's very generous, he doesn't mind at all, Lana said dismissively, wanting the awkward encounter to end. Men aren't as generous as you think, Wesley said, backing Lana into a corner. You really don't have any other intentions with my nephew? I swear, absolutely not. Then what makes you think I'm the kind of person who sleeps with people I don't like? Wesley sneered. His words finally broke Lana. Years of buried resentment erupted. Is your memory so bad, Counselor Way? Don't you remember what you said to your friends in that private room all those years ago? Wesley's body went rigid. You told your friends I was just a way to pass the time when you were bored. Unfortunately for you, I heard you, Lana said with a self-mocking laugh, though her eyes glistened with tears. So I decided I was done being your pastime. Should I have stuck around to be your friend with benefits instead of breaking up? As old scars were ruthlessly exposed, another plot was brewing behind high walls. In the detention center's visiting room, Sophia smugly informed Ivy that she was pregnant and would soon be applying for bail. The moment Ivy left the detention center, a black car pulled up silently beside her. Jasper's assistant, Wu, got out and said, his face expressionless, Ms. Ivy Chow, mister. I would like to see you. With a heart full of dread, Ivy was brought to the old-by-family estate. The historic mansion, which had weathered a century of storms, now seemed like a hall of judgment. Jasper sat in a mahogany chair, a modern Chinese-style suit making him look even more inscrutable. His cold, dark eyes only ever warmed with a hint of color when he looked at Chloe. Jasper, did you bring me here to punish me for what I said last time? Ivy decided to strike first, but I only told the truth. In the end, your feelings for Chloe are probably just because you see her as a substitute for that other girl. A substitute? Jasper scoffed, the sound devoid of warmth, filled only with biting mockery. I've never been interested in finding substitutes. I love Chloe simply because she is Chloe. He paused, his gaze sharpening. I brought you here today to warn you. If you ever speak such nonsense in front of Chloe again, I will cut out your tongue myself. Ivy felt a chill run down her spine. She tried to argue, but Jasper simply raised a hand. An attendant stepped forward and slapped her hard across the face. The sharp pain and the taste of blood filled her mouth. Before she could scream, a second slap followed, then a third. The crisp sounds echoed in the vast hall, punctuated by her choked pleas for mercy. The man orchestrating it all didn't even lift his gaze, as if he were merely disposing of a piece of trash. After what felt like an eternity, the slapping stopped. Ivy's face was swollen, and she could barely speak. Only then did Jasper put down his book and look at her with his dead eyes. Do you understand now? I understand. Ivy managed to choke out, filled with a mixture of terror and hatred. When Jasper returned to the apartment, the vicious aura still clung to him. He saw Chloe asleep on the sofa, clutching a family photo. The smile on her brother Cole's face was a needle in his heart. He murmured to himself, if I find you, do you think Chloe will forgive me? Just as Jasper spoke, he realized the sleeping woman's eyes were open. Jasper froze, his expression turning grim. When did you wake up? Just now, when you were muttering at the photo, Chloe said, sitting up and placing a hand on Jasper's forehead. What's wrong? You look terrible. It's nothing. I just hope we can find your brother soon, Jasper said, hiding the guilt in his eyes. He suddenly grabbed Chloe's arm, his voice a hoarse plea. Kiss me, okay? If you kiss me, I'll be fine. Chloe laughed, but complied. The kiss was quickly overtaken by Jasper, becoming fierce and forceful, filled with a deep craving and anxiety, as if he wanted to devour her whole. After a long time, Jasper broke away, panting, and whispered in Chloe's ear, Chloe, don't leave me. The next day, Chloe went with Lana to a famous temple on the outskirts of the capital to clear away some bad luck. But before the grand, incense-filled hall, a sharp voice broke the peace. Chloe, what are you doing here? It was Leo's mother and sister. Gia looked at Chloe with disdain. Someone like you, coming to pray? You must have a guilty conscience. You've done so many bad things. That's why you can't find your brother. It's karma. The word karma was a thunderclap. In an instant, the air around Chloe turned ice cold. She walked step by step toward Gia and, under Gia's contemptuous gaze, kicked her sharply in the knee. With a dull thud, Gia fell hard, both knees crashing onto the stone pavement. Ah! Gia cried out, trying to get up, but Chloe pinned her shoulder with one hand, holding her fast. On the honor of my family of loyal patriots. Chloe's cold voice boomed in the solemn temple grounds, every word ringing with power. My family's ancestors died for this country, my parents died for this country, and my brother went missing serving this country. My actions have been honorable before heaven and earth, and before my nation. You say I've done bad things? Say it again. Chloe's powerful voice held an undercurrent of profound sorrow that made the other worshippers stop and stare. Chloe wasted no more words. She forced Gia's head down, once, twice, 3 times, making her kowtow in the most humiliating way before the statues. Just then Leo arrived. He was stunned by the scene. His mother and sister cried for him to defend them, but after hearing Chloe's cold explanation, he was shaken to his core. He spun around and slapped his own sister hard across the face. You will apologize to Chloe right now, Leo roared. I'm sorry, Gia mumbled, forced by her brother. Too late, Chloe said, watching the family drama with disdain. Gia Gu, you'll soon be adding the crime of insulting a veteran to your list. Without another glance at Leo, Chloe turned and walked away. Chloe, don't go. Leo stared at her resolute back and instinctively started after her. I need to talk to you.